Epic Gaming Night is sponsored by Analog Gamer. Check out Analog Gamer for high-quality board game apparel. You can find Epic Gaming Night shirts and much more at analoggamer.com. This is Epic Gaming Night, a podcast about board games and the stories and relationships they create. This is Roy Canny. I just totally messed that up. Welcome to the Epic Gaming Night podcast, a podcast about tabletop games, but mostly board games. I'm your host, Roy Candy, and with me, as always, is Matt.
Roy Canady.
And Rob.
I am also Roy Canady.
Yes!
Roy Canady cubed. Here we are.
I messed that up because I was, trying to move you guys really quick at the beginning because I had Matt in Rob's spot and Rob in Matt's spot, and I'm like, fix. I'm like, oh no, the sound's gonna. Yeah, we're professional. We got this. We're doing this.
It's okay. You glance down, you see your name below your picture, and you're like, I am Roy Canady.
Yep, that's all I could think is I actually am Roy Canady. That's me. Ah,
that's awesome.
Good times. So how you guys doing tonight?
I am doing well. How are you?
Nice.
I have a lot to complain about and a lot to get excited about, but I'll wait.
Awesome.
Here we go.
Hopefully we have all of your complaints and excitements on the docket here. Let me know if I miss anything. But I guess we can go ahead and get into the news. Tonight we're going to be talking about games that are under the radar. But before that, let's talk about some newsy type things. So the GAMA trade show is going on right now in Las Vegas, where a bunch of different companies are talking about things that are coming up in their company and as far as board gaming goes. And it's basically like a trade show for them to tell game stores and basically news sites and stuff like that about the upcoming games that they're releasing for the year. So the first one of the ones that we're most excited about, is they announced that Eric Lang is joining Cool Mini or Not exclusively as their head of game design. So he's going to be doing games only for Cool Mini or Not and working with them specifically.
I love it. I think it's phenomenal. He already kind of was that way anyway, I guess, except for some side projects. Mm-hmm. But I'm crazy about it. I'm absolutely crazy about this idea. I think the fact that he's now going to be able to be over the company's game design going forward, and he's still going to design his own games, is just going to make Cool Mini or Not the bigger juggernaut than it already is. I absolutely love this idea. Once I saw it, I was super pumped because I was like, make it official. And, at the same time, I don't know if this really hurts FFG or not, but I know Eric, for example, he did Fantasy Flight. He did XCOM. He didn't do it, but he helped out with their Witcher game. He's done consulting for other companies on games.
I mean, Game of Thrones, the card game, was designed by him. Lord of the Rings, the card game, was designed by him.
Dice Masters?
Well, Dice Masters is WizKids, so that's kind of interesting.
But that's not
how's
Cool
that
Mini or
going to
Not,
work?
though.
So I guess maybe he's not going to design Dice Masters anymore. I don't know how all this exclusive stuff works. So,
but I love it. He's right now my number one favorite designer.
Mm-hmm. Is it just because of the hair, or?
No, the hair is what pushes over to the top.
Gotcha.
Him and Isaac, I would say, are tied without the hair, but Isaac has good hair too. But then with the hair, Eric wins. Emerson Matsuuchi, I love Emerson. He would be up there for me if more of his games were out. But it's just not enough of Emerson's games are out, so I haven't been able to. I've only played a couple of Emerson's games. I've played a plethora of the other, not a plethora, but I've played several of the other designers. So love Emerson, but anyway, super excited about this. And they also hired that amazing designer I can't remember the guy's name, but he looks like Andrew WK back from the late 90s, early 2000s. Long rock hair going on and the crazy beard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited for Cool Mini or Not. And then I'm also excited for what you're going to say here shortly because it just makes me love Cool Mini or Not even more.
Yeah, so they also announced that they are working on a Song of Ice and Fire miniature game, which if you don't know what a Song of Ice and Fire is, that's Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
But it's not Game of Thrones based off the show, it's Game of Thrones based off of the books.
Boom. Crazier. It's even crazier.
Yeah.
And it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, the miniatures, like they've already showed some pictures of some of the miniatures and stuff. They look cool, and they're going to be doing a Kickstarter for this in Q3.
Q3.
Yeah. And it's literally like a rank and files miniature game like Warhammer. So it's not a board game; it's a straight up like hobby miniatures game, which is interesting because Cool Mini or Not has a few other like hobby miniatures game, but I haven't seen anybody be super up in arms about them. But the fact that this has the Game of Thrones license on it, I can totally see. Like they've already showed like some of the dire wolves and stuff like that. I'm excited to see if they like have White Walkers and dragons and all that stuff.
And dragons and giants.
Yeah, that's the stuff we really want to see in a Game of Thrones game. Hint, hint,
and
hint.
the Dothraki and all this crazy stuff and the army of the Unsullied and stuff like that. Like
magic.
This in Fantasy Flight Games. You should have, and you could have done this.
Yeah, this seems so crazy to me.
Looking right in the camera right now. You could have done this. You could have completely wrecked the gaming world and completely taken over. But instead, you decided to make a dice game about Star Wars instead of Twilight Imperium 4 Star Wars Edition or more Star Wars Rebellion. You could have made big epic games, but you made a little collectible card game. And you announced that you're not going to do any more reprints and stuff. You could have done a Game of Thrones 3rd edition, which would have been freaking amazing, but no, you came out with this cartoon-looking, stupid Game of Thrones game. No. Then you redid Cosmic Encounter.
Hey, that game's good.
Which, that was a good game. I'll give you that. But you already had Cosmic Encounter. You're like Hollywood right now. Come up with something new. Come up with something original.
Anyway, I need to get the triggered thing on Rob's thing again. But I definitely do think it's interesting because, like, Fantasy Flight Games like pioneered Game of Thrones back before it was like a thing. So like they made the Game of Thrones like collectible card game was collectible back in the day, and like they had like the Game of Thrones board game. Game of Thrones board game is old, and they were all about Game of Thrones before the show ever came out or anything.
Yeah.
But then
and they did a great job with it.
I know, and it's interesting. I wonder how the licensing agreement and stuff worked with Cool Mini or Not.
They even came out with Game of Thrones Battle Lore.
Right, and that's like. That's the same sort of thing as this. Not quite exactly a miniatures game, but, you know, it's still like a board game with miniatures where you're fighting on a map. So it's kind of interesting that Cool Mini or Not is making this, and it's kind of interesting. I wonder what the behind the scenes of the licensing and stuff like that happened on this.
And here's the thing. It's got to be some type of... We don't know. I don't know. Roy may know. Out of anybody in this podcast, Roy's going to know. Man, I don't know. But, like, I have all of Game of Westeros Battle Lore. There's not like a dire wolf faction. Now Rob Stark does write on a dire wolf, but there's not like a whole group of White Walkers that you can play with, or even the Unsullied or Dothraki. It's literally just the Seven Kingdoms.
Yeah.
And it's not even like the crazy like the giants that are above the wall or the wildlings or anything like that. It's just like the big families. And so could there be some type of licensing where they don't have the rights, or is that just extreme laziness? Because they came out with a lot of expansions for Battle of Westeros. There's like 7 of them, 6 or 7 of them. No dragons, no Targaryen, no Dothraki, no Unsullied, no White Walkers, no wildlings. Now, all right, there's a wildling, the Barbarian clan or whatever, the people north of the wall, but like they don't have any of the giants or anything like that with them, or any of the like the crazy cannibal guys. It's just guys that look like barbarians.
Nice. Yeah, anyway, I'm definitely excited to see what Cool Mini or Not does with this. Yeah, I mean, it seems interesting to me. Like, I feel like if Rune Wars was this instead, it would be completely different. The hype level for Rune Wars would be way higher. But like literally, if you look at the pictures of Rune War stuff and then the pictures of this game, like they look the same, you know. Like even like pictures, like I saw pictures of people playing the game with measuring things and stuff like that, and I'm like, it looks like the same game, but this is Game of Thrones. What? So
I think Cool Mini or Not will explore the entirety, and I don't know yet 100% certain, but I believe they will explore the entirety of the books and the history of Game of Thrones, and so we will see those crazy armies come out. Whereas we didn't with
has Cool Mini or
FFG.
Not done licensed games before?
They did Bloodborne.
Oh yeah, they did do Bloodborne.
And did they do some other stuff, or is it all like original content?
Majority of it has been stuff that they've come up with, which is pretty.
Which I love, by the way.
Yeah.
I love that. But yeah, I think if they've done anything, it's only been like a couple things here or there in license. The majority of it's original content. And so did Fantasy Flight when they started off. Original content. But then it's like once they got X-Wing, they just started doing it over again.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see how that game goes and see more details about it as it goes along. Being a miniatures game, I don't know if I'll be able to keep up, but they did show that, hey, once it comes out, after the Kickstarter, once the game actually comes out, then they're going to be like aggressively like releasing expansions for the miniatures game, and they're going to continue to release hero packs and army packs and hero packs and army packs, and they had like the whole like 2018 year planned out with expansion releases for the Game of Thrones, or not Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire miniatures game, which is basically Game of Thrones miniatures game. So yeah,
good stuff.
So this one, I don't know if you guys know about, but it's a game that Portal Games announced. I'm a huge fan of Portal Games. They do a bunch of awesome stuff, like Cry Havoc. They are making a modern like crime scene detective game. And I was listening to Ignacy talk about this over on the Dice Tower live stream, and it sounds pretty ridiculously awesome. Basically what it is, it's a game like Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective or something like that, where you're trying to figure out different like plot points and narrative and trying to be able to solve these puzzles. But it also uses a like web application. It uses their website, and you have to go into their website and type in different things to get more information. But then they also want you to use just like the entire internet to get more information to be able to play the game. So basically, like, there'll be specific things that you'll have to look up on the internet itself, and you have to search the internet for clues inside the game. So literally they said part of playing this game is going to be like searching things on a search engine on your phone. Like not a search engine that they made, but like the actual just internet, like almost like augmented reality type stuff, because you're having to go out online to be able to find extra clues about the different things. There's going to be 5 different scenarios in the main box. I know that like the first 4 like pre-scenarios leading up to like the end scenario, and they said each of these scenarios is going to be like 3 hours to play. So it's like an intense game each time you play it. But they also said that this is going to be very much like a time stories or like consulting detective sort of thing, where once you know the story, once you know the puzzles, it's kind of done, but they're trying to make sure that there's a lot in the box so you get a lot of play out of it. It definitely sounds like an interesting concept, and I'm definitely interested to learn more, especially since they're like, oh, you have to like, you're trying to solve puzzles and clues inside this game to figure out who did these murders and stuff like that, but you have to like search Google on your phone to figure those things out. I'm like, what? It just sounds crazy to me. And Portal Games normally makes amazing stuff, so I'm excited about this. What does that sound like to you guys? Do you think that sounds interesting at all? Or?
Yeah, I think it's neat that they're rehashing ARGs after like 10 years. That's pretty cool.
I'd give it a shot. I mean, I don't know. I'm not too familiar with that kind of stuff, but I do like mystery stuff, so I'd give it a shot. But I'm still hype on other things going on right now, so...
Also, I feel like if they do it, I think there's a neat way that they could do it. If they did like a timed thing, so like a real time thing, and then you had all the stuff laid out, so you had a bunch of people sitting around the table, it would force people to be actively engaged kind of at all times, but then at the same point you could still use your phone, so people are looking up this or that and you could delegate tasks out.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a really interesting way to go
That's
about
basically what he
it,
said,
but-
is like he'd be like, people would be like looking up things in here and they'd be like, oh man, look this up, and like there'd be one guy who's like looking on the computer, and then you have another guy that's typing the different things that the guy finds into like the web app on this thing. So you have different people doing different tasks to try to like figure out and solve the case, which sounds extremely ambitious, but I'm excited to see how it all works out. So
I think it'll be really funny if you just play with like a bunch of like pub trivia, like superstars, where they're just like, all right, and then they're just like, oh, I don't even need to look this up. I know this already. What's the question?
one of
It's
the
fine.
things he gave as like
I'm
an
expert on
example,
monkeys.
one of the things he gave as an example for the game was inside of the game itself. It said something like, oh man, like this thing happened like when this rover was launched or something for like a mission to like Mars. I remember it was the same year, but I don't remember exactly which year it was, and you're trying to figure out these different things. But like you could look up that, it's like real world information that you could look up and figure out when that date was for that specific thing it said, to be able to find the clues about whatever. So I don't know, seems interesting.
Great way to teach your kids history, probably.
Yeah.
Awesome, but that
I mean,
is
sounds pretty good.
Detective from Portal Games. The next one I want to talk about is D&D Beyond. Wizards of the Coast announced a whole, like, it looks like application suite thing for Dungeons of Dragons that's going to be coming out that helps you keep track of your campaigns and your player character sheets, and it's got like a bunch of the information on it. I know when I used to play 4th edition, people don't stone me, because whenever you say 4th edition, people go crazy and start throwing rocks at you. But when I used to play 4th edition, they used to have an application you could go into and create your characters. Well, this looks like it's like a step beyond that, where you can use the applications to kind of like manage your campaign and be able to do stuff, but it's all still around the tabletop. It's not like a digital implementation of D&D that you can play online. It's like just tools to help you control your character sheet, and it has all the different things from all the books that you can upgrade your characters, and you can just keep your character on your phone as you play the game. Seems pretty interesting to me. I know, Matt, you said you had read some things about this. What are your thoughts?
I mean, so what I was reading was more people's kind of opinions about it. So
Yeah.
it's like you were saying, they tried to do something similar in 4th, and I think they only put out like a couple of things, and the character builder were kind of the big things. But they had a lot of features that they originally announced when they came out with it. And then they just kind of scrapped them, or just never got around to them. So
I know I
I'd be
use the
interested-
character builder like crazy for 4th edition.
Yes.
We my whole group, like, we always use the character builder. I used to run 4th edition like encounters, and like everybody loved the character builder because they could just sit at home, tool around with the character builder, because instead of having to flip through pages and pages of books, when it's like, okay, I'm a dwarf. Now it gets rid of all the other class things that you can't be if you're a dwarf. And then you're like, okay, well, I'm this close. It just shows you the options that are actually available to you, which once they've released this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing, and you've got like 37 books, it's really hard to build a character with all the options going through all those books, you know? So being able to do it online makes it a lot easier. So if you're the min-maxing type.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I really need to play 5th edition because I've never played 5th.
I just keep buying books for no reason, so...
We should do it. We should play some 5th edition. I need to get some at least like the basic books, like the player's handbook and the DM's guide or something, just so I can know the rule set. I'm pretty sure it's just D&D. Like, I don't think there's that many changes in the rules too much. It just like simplifies it a lot, right, Matt?
Yeah, it kind of goes back to like 3.5, but just without a lot of the floating point numbers and all that jazz.
Yeah.
But,
role-playing games, for the most part, are pretty free form anyway, so as long as you basically know the rules, you're good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I was going to say they came out with the Mystic for playtesting yesterday, I think. They've been doing weekly updates online for something called the Unearthed Arcana, and so they'll have like new class features and stuff, and it's pretty interesting to follow along with. But yeah.
Yeah. Then we wanted to talk a little bit. I can't believe we hadn't said anything about this yet, but the Champions of Midgard expansions. That are on Kickstarter. Matt literally just backed the Kickstarter like right before we started the show. He's like, Champions of Midgard, an hour left. So if you're listening to this live, the Champions of Midgard,
go.
You have to go right now to back it on Kickstarter. If not,
you were.
Hey, it's gonna come out soon. But it looked amazing. Looks amazing.
It does look amazing.
Yeah.
So.
You have approximately 37 minutes to go from this exact moment if you were listening live.
But yeah, so Champions of Midgard's coming out with, I guess, 2 expansions that add some new dice types and new different mechanics to the game. And it just looks great. And their Kickstarter was pretty huge success. I remember texting back and forth with Josh when it was going up, and it was pretty crazy how many backers they were getting. They were kind of blown away because they're like, oh my gosh, I got to work on stretch goals. And they were just like trying to figure out what to do because their stretch goals were getting blown out of the water because they didn't expect as much backing as it was. But Champions of Midgard is a great game. It's my favorite worker placement game. So there's that.
Yeah. Also, one of the expansions ups the player count to 5.
Nice.
So that might be something important for some people.
Mm-hmm. And it gives you all the colors and everything you need. They actually had a voting for the color of the player. And I think their funding went so high that they made, because they're like, hey, you can vote for the color of the player. And then they like just decided the stretch goals got so high. They're like, and we'll just throw in meeples of the second highest voted color as well. Because they were trying to figure out more things to put in the box because they were doing pretty good. But yeah. That is Champions of Midgard. What are the name of the 2 expansions?
The Mountain Giant and Valkyrie, or Valhalla. Sorry,
Valhalla, and then something Mountain, Spooky Mountain. Probably
Mountain Giant
better than that.
Spooky Mountain Giant. Nice, awesome.
You heard it here first.
I think that is the official term, Spooky Mountain Giant.
Well, I put it back in the show notes because these guys wanted to talk about the updates to the Rising Sun Kickstarter. I'm just going to let you guys go with that for a little bit.
I'm going to let Matt go first.
Yeah, Matt, you go first.
So here's my gripe, right? Because it's a gripe. It's a Kickstarter. It's fine. But I've never been a part of Cool Mini or Not's Kickstarters. And so I was talking to Rob a little bit before the podcast started. And apparently this Kickstarter is not how they've ran all of their previous ones. Mm-hmm. But this one, to me, feels very weird. Like, it feels, I don't know, almost like it is sort of more specifically, they're trying to ink more money out of people almost. And that they're metering the releases very slowly. And then they're not saying what's going to be add-ons. And then when they feel like they're hitting a plateau, they're like, oh, guys, metal coins. And people are like, oh, great. And then, they're like, oh, cool, we got another $200,000 off some $20 metal coins. Great. Cool. But my biggest complaint is that they came out with, and they said, hey, guys, check it out, the Fox Clan. So it's a 6-player expansion. And you're like, cool, great, awesome. We hit that stretch goal? Great. And then the next 5 stretch goals were all just the stuff you needed to play with that clan. Like, the 6-player expansion basically accounted for like
3 stretch goals, I think.
Yeah.
3 or 4.
It was so much, and I was like, guys, like that's $400,000 for like that one expansion. Like, I understand you don't want to just say, hey, yeah, this is the 6-player expansion. We're gonna need quite a bit of money to get there, but honestly, at that point, why wouldn't you just release it as an add-on, like a standalone add-on?
And I still feel like they're probably going to eventually be like, and now here's these 2 more factions that are add-ons that you can buy or something like that. But this is the exclusive one.
Right. And I mean, sure, some people probably care about that. And I'm not one of them. I care about the monsters and like the lore kind of stuff.
I slightly care a little bit when they're like the Boar Clan for Blood Rage cared not at all because it was no different because that wasn't very asymmetrical. This Fox Clan is an asymmetrical clan because it has different abilities. So you can't.
Yeah, it does matter a little bit more on Rising Sun than it does for Blood Rage because the clans have different abilities. Blood Rage, they didn't.
What about if they come out with a different thing as an add-on for like a 6-player thing, and it uses the same ability as the Fox Clan, but the Fox Clan is like literally just a reskin of something? I don't know that they will, but
I'm thinking that they'll come out with different ones still. And like you said, it seems like they're waiting until they're like, oh, people stopped like pledging like crazy. Let's do this add-on. Now we have a 6-player expansion that's not Kickstarter exclusive, that's now an add-on, and it's a completely different faction. If you want it, you can get in too.
I wouldn't mind them doing that so much with the add-ons, where they're like, oh, hey, look, we just, we talked about it, and now we're adding this as an add-on. Mm-hmm. But at least show me all of the goals, right?
Yeah.
Like, because we don't even know where they're ending at, like where their cap is.
Yeah,
so,
and then does that mean if they don't make it, they're just going to try to sell all the additional stuff extra to just try to throw it in and stuff like that? Like,
so are they going to do that, or are they looking and saying, okay, well, we're making this much, so we should set the next goal at, say, another 100,000 to 120,000 beyond what we're currently at, just because, well, we're doing well, so we can clearly make it, as opposed to just putting it in there and it might have been closer to, say, 50 to 80,000 gaps. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
like,
also have the ending stretch goal be something amazing. Like, for example, like now the latest update shows this fire dragon. That gets me hyped. That makes me want to back it. Mm-hmm. Ending a stretch goal where I see a flag or a coin does not get me excited to go tell my friends, hey, let's try to unlock this flag. Yeah. I have not backed a ton of Cool Mini or Not, but I have backed several games, and I have friends who have backed even more Cool Mini or Not games than I have. And in the past, it seems like they did do stretch goals in increments, but they were a lot bigger, and it seemed like they were more prepared in the past. Mm-hmm. I don't know how they could not be prepared for the hype coming out for Rising Sun. I mean, it's the successor to Blood Rage. They blew it up with Blood Rage. It's a staple in there. I mean, it's a champion in their stable right now for games and stuff like that. How could they not expect Rising Sun to do as well as they did? And I understand that the backers could have crashed Kickstarter and stuff, but give it 10 minutes. You can load all your stuff up after that. Like, to have these issues or to be as slow as they're being, I think they're hurting themselves. Whoever their marketing person is,
I don't think they're hurting themselves that bad. The Kickstarter's already up to like 2 million. So,
Roy, it could be so much more. If Kingdom Death Monster can do $12.8 million, and I'm never gonna get that game. I'm not gonna play that game. There's a lot of people that aren't gonna play that game just for the vulgarity that comes with that game, right? Because it's a pretty adult game. Mm-hmm. So many more people, and granted, there are there's mature content with Rising Sun and stuff like that. Like some of these monsters and things, the severed heads and stuff. It's pretty gory, but it also has Eric Lang behind it. It also has a really big company in Cool Mini or Not. This is not their first rodeo. I think, as much as I love them, I think they really kind of hurt themselves on this when it came to the marketing and the way that they're distributing this campaign for this Kickstarter. Like, it's kind of disheartening. And what's worse is I know the game is going to be fantastic. I just know why, because it's them and it's Eric Lang. But I see more people every single day. Yeah, I backed out of my pledge for Rising Sun. Oh, I'll just play my friend's copy. Well, I'm not going to get this, because people are frustrated with not being able to see what's going on. And also, if you're going to do all these add-ons, are you just going to wait till a week out for me to have an add-on? Like, because how are you? And I know we're going to talk about this later on in the show.
So normally with the other ones, do they have all the add-ons like up front? They're just in there?
Maybe not up front, but pretty close. I would say about a week out. Like Massive Darkness, the stretch goals, all that stuff got unlocked, and that came in time. But I knew the add-ons
Adam was asking how much of the stretch goal stuff is going to see retail. Like barely any of it. Like there's a couple things that they've unlocked through stretch goals.
There's a lot of stretch goal stuff out there, but anything that says Kickstarter exclusive won't. And I'd say it's about 50-50 right now.
I don't think
the
it's
majority
50-50.
of the stuff you want is going to be Kickstarter exclusive. The majority of the stuff that's going to retail is going to be like plastic coins and little flag markers.
Well, you don't even get the
size
plastic yin yang things in the retail version. So you get some plastic tokens and stuff like that for specific things, and the flags. And
the amazing stuff.
One
is
of the
gonna
big
be on
miniatures
Kickstarter.
is not exclusive, but like all the rest of those miniatures are. So it's just kind of like.
And here's what's like bothering me about this is I can only imagine the ideas that they have for stretch goals that we haven't even seen yet. Like the amazing things that they want to unlock that we haven't even seen yet that we may not be able to get to because we're not getting the hype around the game going in. And so, for anybody listening to the show, if you're an Eric Lang fan and you like Blood Rage and you also like backstabbing your friends, you may want to get this game. The game looks amazing. The concept of the game is amazing. The board, the minis, and it's a cool mini or not Kickstarter. And we've talked about this in the past. They're like the one company I will Kickstarter because their Kickstarter exclusives, they're hardcore on it.
Because they force you to Kickstart it. Literally, they force you to Kickstart it.
You will not see it unless you see it at a convention or something like that, but they do not sell it at their store or anything.
And we've heard horror stories of people trying to get the exclusives afterwards. Like, it is a nightmare to just try. Like, our friend Trevor, who has the ability to get things like that, still doesn't have a complete copy of Blood Rage because he had issues getting it at Gen Con and different things like that. So even you win tournaments where they guarantee you those things, and then they're like, oh, well, we ran out of the exclusives for that specific figure. Nope, sorry about that. Here, you can have this insert instead.
Yeah. I don't know. It feels very
sloppy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me personally, I'm kickstarting Rising Sun because it's Rising Sun, so it is an Eric Lang game. So I know it's going to be good, and I know it's going to be good because of Blood Rage. And the only two reasons that I like those games are because the mythology theme. Like the gameplay to me is almost secondary, but this is just me. So I'm just like, yes, I want this. I love this. This is going to be fantastic. So I'm backing in for that. But the way this Kickstarter is being handled, it makes me almost want to just not look at anything else that Cool Mini or Not is going to do until the next Eric Lang mythology game comes out. And then I'll go, hey, back at it.
Could you imagine Eric Lang with this Song of Fire and Ice game, him having his hand on that and the craziness that'll come out with that?
I'll be honest. I'm not as hyped for it as you guys are, but it'll be interesting to watch.
I don't know that I'd be able to keep up with it since it's a miniatures game.
I'm hyped for the fact that that we could see eventually FFG come out with amazing, because they still own the licensing for it.
Yeah.
That they could come out with that third edition or just big expansions for second edition.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a big miniature guy. I don't have any miniatures with me other than the ones that come in my board game. So, but I'm just hype on the fact that this could light a fire underneath FFG to get them going again. Don't get me wrong. I'm complaining because I love them, and I'm complaining because I think they do a great job, and I'm tired of them recently, in my personal opinion, not reflecting the views of the show or whatever. But I think they're dragging their feet, and they're making the same thing over and over again. And so I'm excited for the competition to kind of show them, here's what you could do and should do, and I hope it's very successful. And I'll probably get the base game just to check it out. But anyway, I agree with everything that Matt said. I'm all excited for the hype and for the mythology behind it as well. And the gameplay, I don't know, those minis are so gorgeous. It is almost kind of like second nature behind it. It's going to be like the first couple times we played Blood Rage where we didn't even really play. It was just like reading the cards like, oh my gosh. And then like looking at the minis like, I don't care. This costs 4 rage right now. I'm getting out this monster because look at what this monster can do. Nice. So I'm excited for that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Well,
sorry. Oh, and that's a podcast.
I guess we should get into what we've been playing a little bit. I'm glad that I didn't have too many questions in our topic, that it'll be too overwhelming. But yeah, so what have we been playing? Me and Rob played a huge game.
Yeah.
It's pretty exciting. Do you want me to go in that, Rob, or do you want to go into it?
No, you can go into that because I'll go into the small game we played.
Cool. So we played Gloomhaven, which is a giant game right now that everybody's talking about. It's all the buzz. This is basically like, it felt very like Descent Legacy to me. It is a legacy game, but is a like fantasy dungeon crawly type game where it's completely cooperative though. So you're playing the game and you get to slowly upgrade your character. You get to name your character. You get to put stickers on a board, and you get to try to complete quests over long stretches of time and things like that. It's definitely very interesting. The combat and how cards work in the game is one of the most interesting parts about this. You have a hand of cards that you can upgrade these cards as you go along, like switch cards in and out. You choose which cards you're going to use for combat, and then when you go into combat, you pick 2 of your cards on your turn. One card you have to do the top ability, and the other card you have to do the bottom ability. So every single card you have has tops and bottom abilities. Then each card has initiatives on it. Now, the 2 cards you picked, you pick which one of those is going to be your initiative card, normally the lowest one because that's the fastest initiative. So you have these cards that determine your initiative, that determine what abilities you're going to do, whether that's moving or attacking or doing some sort of crazy special ability or healing people or jumping over some stuff. Like, there's all sorts of different abilities on these cards, and any card can be used as the top part being an attack part and the bottom part being a move part, and that's only 2 attack or 2 move. And then you play your cards out, and then your initiative is determined by the cards you played, and the other player's initiative is determined by the cards you played. And then you also flip an initiative card for each of the monsters to figure out where they go. So the initiative changes every single round, so it's kind of very fluid. You don't know when the monsters are going to go, so you kind of plan what you want to do, and then the initiative stuff happens, and maybe those monsters move before you even get to go, and it kind of screw you up. But it's definitely very interesting how all the combat works, and you're not allowed to say the initiative on the cards. So you're not allowed to say, hey, I'm going to be doing an 11 initiative. And somebody else is like, well, I really need to go before you so I can attack these guys, and then you can run past me and do that. You can say that, but you can't say what the number is, like what exactly you're doing. So you're kind of like up in the air of who's going first, who's going second, and all that stuff. As far as turn order goes. It's definitely a very interesting game. We only played it once, so we didn't get a full scope of like how crazy the legacy stuff gets into the game. But we did get to see the combat and a little bit about like trying to fulfill little personal quests that each character has. There's also a lot of like side things that happen, like from going to this encounter to that encounter. It'll be like, oh, well, you run into this. We literally ran into a guy on the side of the road who was pooping. Like, literally. It's like, there's a guy on the side of the road with his pants down squatting. He's got all his stuff sitting there. Do you want to try to steal
What do you do?
Oh, he asks you guys for help. Do you grab his stuff while he's in this awkward situation, or do you go over there and help him out like he asks you? And for some reason, my character had something that said they're supposed to be loyal and they hate bandits. So, which kind of sucked because there were so many opportunities for us to just steal stuff. But I was like, this thing says that I hate bandits, so I don't want to steal things because that seems against this character's like personality and what they're supposed to do. I'm like, I'll go over there and help the guy out. And he's like, he asks you for some leaves or whatever, and you can, if you were confused about what he was doing before, the smell tells you that you definitely know what he's doing now. It's just like, this is awkward.
And the card says that. Yeah.
Storytelling that's just way too graphic. But it was definitely fun and interesting, and a lot of they take like, it's a fantasy game, but they take a lot of effort into making it not like atypical fantasy. Like, they have weird races that they've added into this game that you don't normally see in your D&D or different things like that. They added a whole bunch of different crazy races. Like, was your guy like a stone guy or something, Rob? My lady was like some crystal lady. She had like crystal shards all over and stuff. Kind of like a Genasi from D&D, but still kind of like not your typical elves and dwarves and stuff like that. Trevor's character was a guy with like horns all over him and stuff. It was pretty interesting, pretty fun.
We were on a mission to destroy them.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy because we had to go kill a whole bunch of like this one race and stuff, and it of course had like some awkward stuff in there about you killing off these different guys or whatever, because you go into a specific room and it's just filled with like kids of that race, and you're like, this is kind of awkward now. But I think the game's set up to make you feel awkward about doing the crazy things you're doing in the game because you're not necessarily good guys, is what the game's trying to tell you. But yeah, and I'm like, this is the same race as your character, Trevor. Why are we going and killing all of them? He's like, I don't care. This is my mission on this thing, so I'm trying to do this. I'm like, okay, whatever. What'd you think of the game, Rob? Because I know you were really excited about it.
I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. We played one mission, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's 96 missions total, Matt. And our one mission was 2+ hours.
Yep.
So this is a huge game, and the game comes with, is it 20 characters in total, Roy?
Yeah, you start out with like just a few characters, like maybe 5 different characters you can be, but there's tons of characters you unlock as the game goes on, and they're in these like packets, sort of like you would think of like with the Legacy game where you're not supposed to open them until the game tells you you can open them. And you have characters that you play, and once they get upgraded enough, they actually just retire. So you have characters that you play and they retire in the game, and as the game goes on, you get other characters that you unlock. It's very interesting and very in-depth.
So it's like all these different characters and all these different people, they have their own stories that you can unlock. And then once you complete their stories, then you unlock a new character. And so it's not like you're going to take the same character through all 96 missions, but you get to complete a ton of stories and get to... It's almost like watching like a... I don't know, it's like watching a movie that has several viewpoints of what everybody's going through, and then, or maybe not even a movie, like a TV series. That's the best way that I could describe it, because
it's the Canterbury Tales.
Well, it's like, yeah, when you are going through and then all of a sudden, okay, Matt's story is done, so now I'm going to pick up Roy, and we get to see Roy's story take off from there. I love the idea that it's super long. Like, this is like that ultimate Netflix binge type of game where it's like, I get to go on all these adventures, and I get to create this world and customize this world and do all this crazy stuff. I mean, 90+ missions. And let's just say on average, let me pull out my nifty calculator right here. Let's say you had 90 missions and they were an hour and a half apiece. So I'm just going to do...
the math!
90 minutes. 90 missions times 90 minutes. So 90 times 90. You're talking about 8,100 minutes divided by 24.
60. Okay.
Shut up.
You divide it by 60. That's how you get hours.
Okay, because like that no way that works. Because like that takes you a year to play. Divided by 60. Sorry. 135 hours of gameplay, and that's at an hour and a half. And with the one that we played, it actually took us about 2.5 hours. Granted, Trevor was teaching Roy and I. But even if you did 90 at 2 hours a piece, that's 180 that's 180 hours right there.
Yeah.
I love that idea. I love the concept, and the Matt. This is the biggest board game box I've ever seen.
It's bigger than anything
huge.
I have. Like Twilight Imperium, huge box. It's bigger than Twilight Imperium. It's bigger than
It's big as like Twilight Imperium and War of the Ring put together. I'm not even joking. That's
insane.
Almost 2 feet tall.
If you had Mechs versus Minions and you stack Mechs versus Minions on top of Mechs versus Minions, that's about the size it is.
Yeah, it makes Mechs versus Minions look like a normal game.
Because it's just so deep. Like, the box is literally like this thick, which is ridiculous. It's insane.
I'm glad that they're going to come out with the Kickstarter again, because it's something that
the Kickstarter is supposed to be coming out like next month or something.
I was looking at the Kickstarter currently.
Yeah, they're going to redo a Kickstarter for it. It's kind of interesting because there's miniatures for all the characters, or at least in the version that Trevor has. But all the monsters and stuff are just like standees and stuff, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah. It didn't bother me that much.
Yeah.
And as big as the game is, could you imagine how much bigger the box would be if you had... You would need a whole nother box just for the miniatures.
One thing I do think is kind of lame, I don't really like the standees they use in the game. I really wish they had more like Dead of Winter standees, like the clear standees. The standees they have just reminds me of like super cheap games, and I'm like, I want better standees. If I had the game, I'd be switching out my standees for like Dead of Winter ones. So.
You'd buy Dead of Winter just for the standees.
No,
you
I
guys
have
can
Dead
keep
of
the
Winter
game.
already. I would still take the standees out of Dead of Winter so I could play this game with
Yeah.
them. So,
The game was great though.
yeah.
Okay. That's good. Just looking at the old Kickstarter. Just
It's
I'm
huge.
surprised they were only asking for like 70,000.
Yeah,
And the way you guys are describing it, this game is just bananas.
it
yeah,
is.
I think it didn't blow up until people just started playing it, and now everybody wants it because it's that good. There's a lot of people that have been soloing the game too. Like I know Tom Vassel's been soloing it like crazy. So
The
Isn't he soloing it
Kickstarter,
on like easy mode?
yeah, he's like super wimp mode.
the Kickstarter just for the game with the minis for the characters was $79.
Yeah, do you know how much it's selling
What?
for now at game stores?
much?
$300 bucks.
$300.
Man, that overhead.
I saw that. I saw that in Board Game Geek. People
Yeah, there's
were
a bunch
like,
of people
so I
that
went
are
to a
upset
friendly
'cause,
board
like-
game store. Yeah, and I left because he wanted to sell for $300, and I was like, nope.
That's insane. But yeah, you can't really get a hold of the game, so I'm sorry we just hyped it up so much and you just can't get it. Like, you literally cannot get the game right now.
Hey, man, but you said it's coming back. It's fine.
It's supposed to be on Kickstarter soon, so this whole
Baby,
first
come back.
Kickstarter was just to show everybody how good the game is so they can do a second Kickstarter.
Yeah, man. Hey, sometimes that's how it works.
So Rob, what else did we play?
Oh,
We also played Hero Clicks. Do you remember?
I remember.
That was this week, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that was Friday.
It was Friday. I had to edit the video, I remember.
I have never played Hero Clicks before, and so Roy got a new Hero Clicks set that just came out, and it's been out for like 15 years. And I will tell you, it's after playing it made me upset that I had never played Hero Clicks before. Hero Clicks is you get characters, and you can mix and match universes. It's a lot of licensing. There's Lord of the Rings, there's DC, there's Marvel, there's X-Men, there's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There's a bunch of different.
There's a Dota set.
There's
Really?
isn't there a Naruto
Yes.
as well?
I was like looking through
That's
stuff
crazy.
and I'm like, what? There's Dota Hero Clicks? I need to get mad on this.
Yeah, there's Street Fighter Hero Clicks, all this other crazy kind of stuff. And your character, they have movement, they have which is speed, they have range, they have strength, they have defense, and some of the newer Hero Clicks come with certain powers. For example, the new Deadpool, one of his powers is he can regenerate, what was his other one? It wasn't that great.
Think about Deadpool.
no.
Look at Perplex. Perplex is awesome.
Yeah.
Perplex is really good, especially when you're like, hey, that guy should do one extra click of damage. And you're like, okay, and then he hits him and just hits him that much harder. It's just really good.
Yeah. My favorite, though, was Cable. So Roy and I played with the new expansion, the Uncanny X-Force of X-Men Mutants Uncanniness or whatever. It was something crazy like that.
Uncanny X-Force is the name of the Fast Forces set.
Awesome. So I was sort of close.
Yeah.
But the game was a lot of fun, Matt. He was Wolverine and a couple of other people. I was
Wolverine,
Deadpool and
Psylocke.
Domino.
Yeah. And Phantom X was my other character, which that was the only one I didn't know super a
I
lot
was
about.
basically the main stars from Deadpool.
Yeah.
Game plays very easy. You only do push them in the future. They can take damage from it. Not a complicated game at all, but what a blast. It's something that I definitely want to look at getting into. And he was telling me some of the stuff, like Superman has got like these crazy abilities and makes me fall in love even more with Superman. But Hero Clicks, if you have not played it, check it out. A lot of fun, cool little game.
Yeah, me and Rob reviewed it, so we had the review of me having... I started playing HeroClix when it first came out, like 15 years ago. I've played it like off and on. It is a collectible game, but I think you can totally play this game casually. But me and Rob did a review, and it should be up on the Dice Tower here soon, just talking about the different stuff from the expansion and how Rob was excited playing it for the first time. So
I got like so excited. It was just no, but I really did. It was a lot of fun.
I've spent a bunch of time playing HeroClix. Like back in the day, I used to go to tournaments for it and stuff like that. And it was kind of funny because I've never been like a collector that gets all the stuff, or I just never had enough money to get all this stuff. Probably is the main thing. But I would build teams with what I had and try to like get like singles of different figures to try to build go to tournaments, and I normally would do like pretty well at some of these HeroClix tournaments. A lot of it is like luck because there's a decent amount of dice rolling, but as long as you're very tactical about what you're doing, it's pretty fun. But I've definitely had a lot of times where like just me and friends would have just some HeroClix sitting around and we just draft from whatever we have. It's like, oh, well, I want to play Superman and I want to play Captain America and you can play Wolverine and I'll play Silver Surfer, and we just grab the characters we want to play with, and they all have point values on them, so you can make a team that's balanced with your team because they all have point values. So you pick a number of points, you can only use this many points, and then you get enough characters to do that, and then you just go off against each other. I definitely think it's a lot of fun in multiplayer situations because then you have to try to like negotiate who's attacking.
Oh my
who
goodness, I can see
on.
it being crazy. Yeah, I can see it being crazy.
Yeah, we've had a lot of fun doing that because especially when it's like whoever has the best character on the table majority of the time is the target, or whoever is like most alive, because like people will start getting beat up and stuff, then the people that are beat up like have to band together to try to take out the people that are still doing really good. So it's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of stuff going on in that game, which makes it exciting. And you get to do superheroes versus superheroes, which is a lot of fun too. So
yeah, it was a blast. It's definitely something I want to play again.
Awesome. Matt, did you play anything?
No. I got my concealed carry permit, but that's about it. Or I started the process.
Did you get one for Ryan? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, Ryan went with me. That was a fun 8-hour class of us sitting there looking at each other going, man.
Who was your teacher?
Some guy who like lives kind of down the road from me. He used to be an old EMT, but the majority of his teaching was like he went over the law a bit and then kind of had a lot of anecdotes. And there was an occasional break to talk about politics, and then some other stuff. And I was like, "Oh God!" Like it wasn't really bad. It's just when you're forced to sit in a place for 8 hours, you're just like, "Man, if I can move, that'd be groovy."
Yeah.
So nice, awesome. Well, I have other games I played, but I'll save that for later since we have already taken up a lot of time.
10 minutes left in the show.
Hey, this has been
even
a
less
really
than
good
that.
show.
7 minutes. That's crazy. All right.
Awesome. Yeah. So our topic is games that are under the radar. Yeah.
Boy.
Boom.
Yeah, man.
So how do you normally discover a game if it's going to be something you would be interested or not? How would you normally like learn about a game?
I would ask you.
I was wondering if that was going to be you guys' answer.
I mean, it's not always, but I think I've kind of answered this in the past. I'll let Matt go first.
I'm the Tabletop Simulator. For me.
Nice.
They have a lot of mods and stuff, so if it's a reprint of something, you can easily go on there and see it. If it's something that's new, it might be on there depending on how they went about it. So like if they have a print and play and stuff, it's probably up on Tabletop Simulator. Mm-hmm. Or I was looking at the Gloomhaven Kickstarter. It had like literally in the Kickstarter there was a thing for Tabletop Sim, and I was like, oh, huh.
Interesting.
So that's like a really cool thing, especially since they integrated it in the Kickstarter to be like, hey, yeah, here's the game. No, you can't play it, but we've coded it into Tabletop Sim. So if you want to give it a go, give it a go. And if you like it, buy it. If you don't,
crazy.
Whatever. It's really cool, and that's the thing I love about Tabletop Sim is it's such a good and powerful tool for people. So
yeah, I never thought about it like that, but yeah,
because I didn't buy it for that, but boy, that's what I've used it for. Like these past couple of months. So
does Tabletop Simulator have like a hotness like list about like which games are getting downloaded the most or which games people are most excited about currently?
It's a pretty active forum.
Yeah, they also the way it works is like it goes based off the Steam Workshop, so it there are popularities that are typically on a week to week basis. So it's things that have the most downloads or the most likes in a week are going to be more like higher up and more displayed. Also,
Hi.
Say hi, everybody. So we're going to bed. Oh, now she's shy. It's only 4 million people watching, Briley.
it's not. But even if it was, I doubt
Yeah.
you could comprehend that number currently, because most
She
people
can.
can.
I love you.
I find that most adults have trouble comprehending what a million is.
She tells me all the time. Quick side note. Oh, Daddy, how much do you love me? And I'll tell her. And she's like, I love you. 187,000, 180, 187 million, 180. And it's always 87 and 100 something. But 87 is going to be in there. 187,000, 100 million, 180 million, 87,000. I'm like, man, baby, you love me so much.
She also really likes 87.
Yeah,
But I think she likes weird sounding words. And I think 87 to her just sounds like weird. So.
or wasn't 87 the number that was on that old gas company? It was like it had like an orange bubble and the number 87 in it. It was just a gas company.
Was it
I don't-
87? I know what you're talking about. Was the number blue?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway.
just digging up failed gas companies from the 90s.
Yeah.
But
I definitely listen to. I've said this a bunch of times before too, but I listen to tons of board game media, and I watch Twitter, and I'm on Board Game Geek, so I just see people talking about new games, and I go to like publishers' websites and stuff like that too, to be like, hey, have they announced anything? Like I'm just all over the place as far as like board game nerddom goes. I'm in deep, guys. Somebody help! But
No, you are.
but yeah, I just look for new games all over the place. And normally, like, I see games and I'm like, okay, that's a thing. But the thing that gets me excited or hyped about it is, like, a specific designer I already know. If it's a specific publisher I already know does really good stuff. Or if people just won't, like, I see the same game over and over and over again and people won't quit talking about it. I'm like, there might be something to that game. That game's probably at least decent because everybody is talking about it. I'm like, I follow like board game groups on Facebook and stuff like that too. So when I see a whole bunch of people posting about the same thing over and over again, it's like, well, that game's hot. Obviously, people are all about it. So maybe that's something I should look into. But yeah, stuff like that is how I learn about board games.
Boom.
With the amount of games coming out, do you think it is more likely for good games to slip through the cracks?
yes.
It's inevitable.
I think from what I've noticed, especially over this past like year-ish, we're seeing a lot of like big AAA titles pick up a lot of steam and generate a lot of hype. So we're starting to like fall into like sort of video game norms where you have AAA developers that are doing things that generate a lot of hype, and you're going to see like release windows where it's like, oh, typically they'll come out with stuff around here and around here and around here. So if you're an indie publisher, do you try to go to the conventions where you might get a lot of word of mouth, but you also might get overshadowed by these big juggernauts? Or do you try to release like in the summer games drought where you might be able to get enough word of mouth to be like the talked about thing?
Yeah. I think it definitely feels like it's going more that way. It's kind of funny because, what is it? PAX had a indie board games area that people could do it, and people were making fun of it a little bit because they're like, indie board games aren't all board games indie, but like there are definitely smaller publishers. I mean, board game companies as a whole aren't huge, but like there are definitely huge publishers and smaller publishers that people don't know as much about. So
Yeah.
it's definitely interesting.
No good on the PAX, guys.
Yep. I watched Tom Bassel did some like vlogs from PAX showing all of the tabletop board game stuff that they had at PAX East, and it was definitely pretty interesting because there's a lot of stuff going on there that's tabletop related, but there's a ton of stuff that's going on there board or video game related. So it's pretty interesting seeing the merging of both those worlds and people having that crossover.
That
do you
place
think?
is also incredibly crowded, so I don't
Yeah, yeah.
I don't envy anyone who went to that.
So, what do you think, Rob, about games flying under the radar?
I agree, but it's just a product of a very healthy community right now and a very healthy business. It's not like one or two games are going to rack up the season. I think one or two games may rack up the month, but then the next month there's going to be another great handful of games and stuff that comes out. I think it just is going to help board game companies to start investing in looking at alternative marketing than what they're currently using. I think Star Wars Rebellion is a fantastic example of that. Great game, got a lot of hype. A lot of people liked it, but it came out at the beginning of the year, and it kind of got lost in the shuffle after a while. Everyone's like, "Oh, wasn't that last year? Wasn't that last year?" Nope, it came out, 2016. But so I think a lot of good games, if they don't get looked over, I think the hype dies faster now. If it doesn't get looked over, if a good game doesn't get looked over, I think its hype dies quicker.
Yeah, everybody's always on to the next new thing or
what's the
next
next
new
thing?
shiny thing, and it's kind
Not
of
as bad as the fashion industry, but it's
it's
almost
hard
getting
to
there.
not like be part of that cult of the new thing where people are just constantly like new thing, new thing, new thing, and it feels like it definitely is super easy for things to just like slip through the cracks, or even if it doesn't necessarily slip through the cracks, just like disappear from the public eye just because it's a few months old now. We're talking about this game now. This game is the new hotness. Like, so who knows? With the okay, do you think all the new games coming out is overwhelming? There's just too many games coming out. Rob says no, shaking his head for the audio listeners. If you can't tell.
I very much say no, because eventually the market and eventually the industry is going to plateau. We're still in that golden age. I think we're in its last years of the golden age, because now a lot of companies are making good games, and it's eventually going to flatten and even out. And so I don't think it's a bad idea, because it'll allow people to look back and pick up games that maybe that they did pass on, and they can get it from third market stores or get it from your friendly local game store. But I love the idea of a big, wide, open market with lots of options. I'm kind of, I guess, a capitalist in that way when it comes to my board game desire. Like, I want a lot of options and things like that, and to be able to get them. So to me, no. But I'm also like you, Roy. I don't watch as much board game media as you, but I do, stay pretty active in board game media. And a lot of people that I follow and do other things are in board game media. So it's not like a lot of things pass by me that I don't know about so much. And so, it's always nice to have in the back of my head, well, maybe next year I'll pick up that game at a con when it's half price or something like that. But
yeah. I definitely think there's a ton of awesome games coming out all the time, and I wish I could play a lot of them, but they're definitely coming out pretty fast. But I don't think it's overwhelming, and I definitely think I'm always like looking for like a good game that fits in like a specific category. It's like, oh man, well, I don't really have a game that does that yet. But it's definitely kind of interesting how fast all the stuff's coming out, and I think it just goes to show you have to make good games that are going to get noticed. And get people excited. So, because if you don't make a good game, how is it going to be able to make its way through all this other stuff? It probably just shouldn't. It shouldn't make its way through all the other stuff. So,
well, it's tough, man. I don't know. As a consumer, I agree with what you said. It should not make its way through, because I want to get a fantastic product. But at the same time, like, it's like that job interview. Do you have any experience? No. That's why I'm coming to you for experience. Like, you've got to let some of these companies and these designers, get stuff out there at the same time. I don't know. It's the creative side of me and like the artist side of me. I'm like, hey man, throw it out there, see what happens. But then the consumer side of me is like, don't waste my money.
yeah.
I don't know. What you just said is kind of that's not perplexing, but it's like it depends on which angle you take. I could see an argument for both.
Awesome.
Oh, that's the awesome words, Robert. Be quiet and move on. That's that awesome.
Do you think there are older games that are worth going back and taking a look at?
Oh yeah. Yeah, but what's old?
I mean, that's up to who you ask, I guess.
I feel like, I don't know, based on a lot of the way we speak about stuff on this show, like stuff from last year is probably considered old, especially the first half of last year. Like you mentioned Rebellion, and you guys might still think Rebellion's kind of new-ish, but it
I
is
wanna
kind of
play
on the
Rebellion
older
like
end of
crazy.
topics.
I want to play Blood Rage like crazy. I have not played Blood Rage since Gen Con. I want to play Blood Rage like crazy.
It is amazing how much retention that game has. I was literally just thinking about that while you guys were talking about things, and I think it's interesting to think about board games in terms of. This might be something to discuss on another podcast, but like in terms of how it relates to other medias, like video games or movies or TV shows or anything like that, like how it gets customer retention in and it keeps it in place. And it technically doesn't need to worry about it because once it's sold the product, it's sold. But
Yeah.
we keep coming back to certain games because it is just that good.
Yeah.
I think there's a ton of games that are not even close to new that are amazing and that I love.
Yeah.
And that people should check out.
I will 100% agree.
I mean, there's so many games that, like, even games like Shadows over Camelot that, like, started, like, cooperative games, like, games like that are still amazing, and I still love to pull a lot of that stuff out and go back and play it. I think it's one of the great things about board games is they're really good for going back and just playing them over and over and over again.
Oh yeah.
Sparkles was
what?
talking about how he doesn't...
Bro.
He likes
Adam
to play...
Sparkles, what's up, boo?
He likes to play games over and over and over again until the cards wear out. He doesn't want there to be like brand new stuff all the time that he necessarily needs. He wants to keep playing the same games. So
Yeah, if I get hype on a game, I am that way. But I also have an addictive personality, and a lot of people, like for example, all day today I've been listening to one song. One song. It's been on.
Is it Shape of You by Ed Sheeran?
No.
Oh man.
if it was,
may-
that would be pretty.
No, it's called The Way, and it's like a 7-minute long song, and like 30 seconds of it, the guy does like a little bit of a rap, but it's it's like a poetry reading almost, but the whole 6.5 minutes is just like this amazing soundtrack, and it's like it's been getting me like so hype all day. So I've just been listening to that. And so I'm that way on things like board games and other things like that. But like after the second time my wife heard that song, she was like, hey, could you turn that off? So that's when I put my headphones in and stuff like that. So I agree with Adam. It's just trying to find people that want to play the same thing over and over again. And one thing that's a blessing but also a curse about this show is if we talked about Blood Rage every single week, about the third week, you guys would probably be like, all right, please move on.
About
So
the
we
third
can't
week, people would
see
call us a secret cabal.
They just stopped listening.
it. So, it's one of the things that's like, I love them, but we've got to try to play new stuff for the show. But I like Betrayal House on the Hill. That's a great old game. Takenoko, that's an old game that I bought that I wanted to teach my daughter how to play. Couple of years, the original Ticket to Ride. I love Axis and Allies. I know because and then there's economics. I mean, it's a lot of fun, but it's a history game. But anyway, there are games that I have not sold because I still love them, and I don't think there's a replacement out there for yet.
Yeah.
I think Spectre Ops is old enough to be included on the list. It is a game that I don't hear very many people talking about, but it is by far, in my opinion, the best hidden movement game out there.
Oh my goodness, hands down,
far and away.
Yeah, far and
So
away.
good.
Except for the one that's in my head that eventually I'll make.
Yeah, man.
That one that we
We
were
should
talking
just
about.
collab with Emerson. That's what.
Hey,
should do.
I've actually been thinking about that.
feel
if I
Hey, man,
eventually
you're
write it
the-
down, should I just send it to him? But
Just be like, just come back to me with, I don't know, stuff that makes sense.
He'd just be like,
speaking
oh,
of the
that's
Dice
cute.
Tower,
Keep working
I
on
was
it.
watching one of their top 10 videos, and they were talking about top 10 games that need a legacy game,
Mhm.
and they were talking about Spectre Ops would be an amazing legacy game.
That would be awesome.
Because like you could go on these different missions and you're trying to get the components, and so you can get like different territories and areas, and you're trying to like stop them from setting off a dirty bomb or setting them off from like turning everybody into genetically modified humans or something. And just some of the ideas that they had for it, I was like, that is really cool idea. Like I never thought about a legacy game.
Dude.
But
And actually, you could do it in an entirely different way. You can make it like a modular board, and then have it be like a kind of slick surface, and then use those like vinyl stickers that you can peel on and off, and
Yeah.
then you can technically just change the map as you go.
Yeah.
That would be crazy.
Yeah, and they even talked about kind of, and you haven't played this one yet, Matt, and you need to. Dead of Winter: The Long Night. In Dead of Winter: The Long Night, there's now upgrades you can do to the colony, where you can actually add like turrets and pits and other things like that, and hammocks.
Yeah.
And they were talking about what if you kind of merge that a little bit with Spectre Ops, where like the hunters had their base and the agents had their base, and as they're finding stuff and fighting each other, like, you know, the hunters can get upgraded where maybe the wolf, his range goes bigger and other stuff happens. It's just, I was like, man, I think it was Sam. It was either Sam or Tom.
I haven't listened to that one. I
put that
definitely need
down.
to.
They had some really great ideas. And they also had Dead of Winter and a bunch of other games on there that I think you'd like. If you get a chance, check it out. It's on YouTube. The Dice Tower's top 10 games that need to be legacy or something like that.
Nice.
But then Tom put in like Suburbia, and then I muted that for a while. I was like, I don't need to listen to this. And then,
I've played Suburbia.
well, because I was like, I put it on in the background sometimes while I'm working, so I listened to it like a radio show, even though it's a YouTube video, because I'm doing paper. And then I heard Suburbia, and I was like, mute. And then a couple of minutes later, I looked up, and they had moved on, and so I unmuted it. So
nice.
anyway,
I think we need to find like a happy marrying of legacy somewhere between Mechs versus Minions and like Pandemic Legacy, where it's like it's not rip up the cards, but it's also not going to be the same game on the second time through.
Yeah.
Like it needs to be like, yeah,
it's huge, man.
I
And you
just
get
need
to
to
play a
figure it
whole
out.
story arc of a character. You're talking about 100+ hours, 100+ hours to play this game.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's value. That's value.
Yeah, and you're going to pay
$80.
under $100, or you're going to pay $100 for 100 hours, and you're going to get all that content. I mean, and I know we kind of know some stuff about some games, possibly maybe that will come out or whatever, that I'm still excited for as a possible legacy game. If you guys remember that conversation with a certain somebody. But anyway, yeah.
NDA.
I have forgotten.
We'll tell you one day, Matt.
Okay.
Anyway, next. What
Alright.
can publishers do to make sure that their game is noticed and doesn't go under the radar?
Advertise. They got to get their name out. They've got to submit to like Geek and Sundry, and that's a tough show and stuff to get on. They've got to send it out to podcasts, because they've got to send it out to local stores. They got to do tournaments. One thing that I like about Fantasy Flight is they always have tournaments going on in your state or your region or your area. I mean, you know about Fantasy Flight games. They even do tournaments for X-Wing at Barnes & Noble. I mean, you've got to get your name out there and stuff like that. And I don't think having that TV commercial is going to help so much, but just get it out there. Try to feed your community as much as possible, because, yeah, need to advertise. Sorry.
I think tabletop sim, to go along with that, is actually a really big thing. So like if you don't have the money, if you're like developing something or a smaller company to make review copies or just ship them out to people to review, you can easily just spend a day or two building it in tabletop sim, uploading the assets, and then going, literally everyone that has a computer, check it out. And then you can send the tabletop sim stuff to podcasts or board game media people and be like, hey, I don't know if this is something you do, but it's easy for me to do, and if you want to check it out, that'd be super cool.
Nice.
And I don't know.
You're not going to be
I
able to
said
open that because it's for iTunes, but that's the song.
Okay.
What was I gonna say? Yeah, at least with Tabletop Simulator, even if they don't play the game, they can at least like move the pieces around and then flip the table. So
Yeah.
Oh, I used to do that all the time playing Ashes, especially when I would play Eric on Ashes. Like he'd kill my guy, and I'd immediately flip the table.
The one of the things that I think is really cool about Tabletop Sim that they added a couple of patches ago is if you know anything about like Python coding, you can actually script games to where you can just put buttons, so you can mitigate like that whole knowing the rules thing. So you can just set it up to where you go, hey, okay, well, when the game starts, press this button. That will set everything up for whatever player count it is, and it can just go through the game kind of on its own. And I think that's something that I think more people should look into. It'd be really cool. But yeah.
nice. Yeah, I definitely agree with advertising, trying to get the word out there, make sure all the media people have it. And I mean, it's sometimes hard because I feel like if you're super like unknown and stuff like that, it might be hard to get stuff out there. But also make sure you're going to conventions and trying to demo your game and things like that. Just word of mouth is like a big thing in board gaming. So be on all the board game media stuff, like be at the convention, show people your stuff. And if your game is good enough, like when people start playing it, when the right people start playing it, like it's going to be all over the place. So you just have to make things that are also really exciting and really good too, you know, because hopefully the cream will rise to the top, and then you will be able to make a name for yourself, and it'll be awesome.
Yeah. The other thing I think is if you don't know anything about photography, maybe learn a little bit.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, just taking higher quality pictures of things can more easily sell a product than you just having a very bland shot of some cardboard on a table.
Yeah. Make sure
If that
you
makes
have
sense.
good graphic design. That gets people excited. Make sure you have good artwork. That gets people excited.
Yeah.
If you have an amazing game with amazing mechanics, but the artwork and graphic design and stuff is kind of shaky, then people might not necessarily be as ready to jump on board on the game. It doesn't have to have the most crazy detailed miniatures to be a great game. I play tons of games that have zero miniatures that I love, but just try to make it like as good as you can with what you have, you know. Don't MS paint it up, you know.
I had an idea for a game earlier today, but I don't know if it would work. It was like the Hunger Games based, and you played up to 24 players. But if you didn't have 24 players, then the remaining characters would just be NPCs that the game would control. And like every day that you went by and you didn't have like food or water, you would lose a health point, and everyone would start with like 10 health, and you're just trying to be the last one surviving. And like you would make it like in the movie or in the books where like a certain area, that's where a lot of food is, another area, that's where a lot of water is, over here, that's where you can get weapons. And so it's going to force people to kind of like jump on top of each other to get certain things. I don't know. I was just thinking like that'd be kind of a fun, you know, just dice chucking, going crazy, you know, let me see what I can do to you type of thing.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the things that I liked about Gloomhaven, completely trying to wrap everything together. Gloomhaven in the game on the cards, you got experience points for doing cool things. You didn't just get experience points for killing a guard, but they had on the card, you can jump over this guy, push a guy into a trap, and hit another guy. If you can do that, you get 2 experience points. And the card would give you the ability to do that. And if you were able to jump over a guy, push another guy into a trap, and hit another guy on a move, you got that experience points. And I just like, that's really cool because it's making you do like cool things, not just hit a guy and get a point. You know, because I killed tons of guys in the game. But
Well, it
the cards
depends
I
on
used
the
to kill
character, because mine was a lot of like hit 3 guys and get experience points. So
yeah. Mine was like jump stuff, which was funny because I had the shortest guy in the game, and it was like, hey, if you could, I guess it was like a big feat. Ha ha, shorty, if you can jump over, that, you get 2 points. So, but I just think, anyway, I don't know why. Just mute me.
Nah. It's good. It's content.
Awesome. Well, what is a lesser known game that you think people should give a chance?
Spectre Ops.
Do you think it's lesser known enough?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. In fact, I saw a bunch of people the other day posting pictures of Fury of Dracula. I think that's a cool game. I like the concept. I own Fury of Dracula. I do want to play it, but I've seen some gameplay of it. I've seen how it works and the whole mechanics. I don't think it's near on par as Spectre Ops. I also see another game for me. It is an older game, and it did get a lot of hype when it was older, but I think you guys would like it and you don't give it a shot, is Axis and Allies. If you can get over the fact that it's history-driven and you put dragons in there instead of tanks, if you just change up the theme, I think you guys would absolutely love it. You'd be like, oh my gosh, but the fact that it's World War II based, I don't think you got a lot of people give it a shot, but it's area control with resource management, with dice chucking and everything. It's a lot of fun. So
awesome.
What about you guys?
For me, one game that I never really hear anybody talk about is Dracon. Like, I never see anybody play in that game. I really enjoy it. I don't know if you guys care that much about it, but it's a simple, light game where you're moving around a dungeon, getting gold. I think it's a great filler game. So I just really
I'd rather play Wiz War.
Well, Wiz War is a lot bigger of a game.
Wiz War is also a good kind of underrated game, I think.
And didn't they just come out with an expansion, or coming out with an expansion for Wiz War or something like that?
No.
Or did Roy just buy the latest one?
I just bought the latest one that was actually super old.
I mean, Dracon's okay. You know, a game that's not getting enough hype?
Sort of.
Freaking Rhino Hero. Rhino Hero is not getting enough hype. We haven't talked about Rhino Hero in a while. And I'm excited for Super Rhino Hero. But that is
dude.
Ultimate party family fun game. Crazy awesome.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I had a game and I forgot what it was.
Do you hear a lot of people talk?
No, but I don't know. That game's just fantastic anyway.
I love it, but I don't hear people talking about it.
Yeah.
Which game?
Junkard.
Oh. I think a lot of people liked it, but I think it's light dexterity that people don't really care about that much.
I also think the price point might be prohibitive for some.
You're probably right.
I just remember we were walking around Gen Con and they were like, please do not bump this table. Please do not bump this table. But like, once we started watching, or Matt had already watched and played, but once I watched, I completely get it. Nobody touched the table.
Absolutely.
It's like so great.
I saw somebody posted. Oh no, it might have been Hector showed me a picture of one of the tables with the big ones from Gen Con, and there was this guy who like said something, and then he was like, "Nah, but check this out." And like off to the side, there's just like a little girl who's just like, just making the most like mind blown face ever, and I was just like, "That is exactly what that game is about." Yeah, so good. Man, I don't know. Like, I would say Clank, but I feel like Clank's been picking up a lot of steam recently. Just online.
I'm not going to say Sight.
Yeah.
Sight is huge.
It's big.
Awesome, guys. Well, you guys have anything else before we start to wrap this thing up?
Tales of Arabian Nights.
Yes.
There we go.
Darth Grader is definitely in the chat.
What is up, Darth Grader? We missed you last week. Always love Adam Sparkles. I'm still not talking to Mark.
Mark is in chat. He's been talking to us the whole time.
Still not talking to Mark.
He did say you can talk about Blood Rage as much as you want, as long as you don't mention Mansions of Madness again. He's trying to get on your bad list, Rob. I'm pretty sure he's just trying to troll you at this point.
Oh, boy.
Another reason why I'm not talking to Mark.
There's going to be a Mega Moose
love
showdown.
The handsome listeners and beautiful listeners. I love all the listeners, male, female, everybody. I love everybody in the show. But It's weird. It's just a lot of middle-aged to older guys that like me. I don't know what's up with that. But anyway, I love them back.
Awesome. Well, we want to say you to some of our amazing patrons. If you don't know, we have a Patreon that we're doing to support the podcast. And you can check that out at patreon.com/Epic Gaming Night.
Oh, crap. We got to do that hot sauce video.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited about it.
So
We're also going to be
I
planning
started
for
getting
our
some
patron hangout.
hot
as well.
sauces in.
Oh, did you get some hot sauces?
Yeah, I'm gonna be testing them to figure out what is
Don't
hot or
let us
too
test
hot.
them.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
let's just
what I
test
was
them
thinking,
together. It can
what
be
I was
really
thinking is
hot.
just
It would
sort
be
of-
awesome.
is like just doing sort of like a hot one setup where it's just like we do
Yes.
like 3 to 5 to 10 things of varying,
Yes.
and it doesn't necessarily have to be increasing. You can just kind of be like a crapshoot,
No.
like those like
No,
Doritos.
please.
Those like Doritos where it's just like, hey, you don't know what you're gonna get, and then one of them's just like, oh, this is just pure extract, and you're like, ah!
Pure Scoville units.
Please don't do that to me.
Pure capsaicin.
I need to like hype myself up when I know I'm starting to get to like the hot zone. Like if the first one I put on is like a Carolina Reaper, I'd be done. I don't
You
even know
won't be
if I
able to
could
taste
finish
the
that.
rest of them.
No,
Are we gonna
they're,
do like where we gotta see who like drops out first? Like the person that just can't handle it anymore is the loser. You have a competition. Place your bets now. Who's gonna win, Roy, Matt, or Rob?
No matter who wins, we all lose. Later in the bath.
And then next
Say,
thing I find out, like
the middle of the
I've
night, we
burned
will
a
have all
hole through my
lost.
stomach from all the hot sauce, and so I die of internal bleeding.
That's always
later
the
on.
worst. Is like when you wake up in the
Nah,
middle
you'll
of the
just get
night
a
after
stomach
eating
ulcer.
hot wings, and you're just like, "Oh no, the time has come." Awesome. Well, do you
Yep.
guys have the list of people we're supposed to say thank you to for on the Patreon?
I do.
Rob, you're here
I
first.
just pulled it up. I want to say big thank you to Joshua Gustin. Go Minnesota Vikings. I know he's a big Vikings fan.
I thought it was,
Vikings
Packers
are the
or
best.
something.
No, he's a big Green Bay Packers fan. In fact, the Packers hate the Vikings. I think they're still rivals. And Brett Favre was a Packer, and he left to be a Viking, and it was like the ultimate betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, Joshua, he's a great guy. He interacts with us all the time
Yeah.
on social media and on the show and stuff like that. And he's another handsome follower. And so really appreciate Joshua and putting up with us.
Awesome.
Yeah. Me next? Cool. So shout out to Johan Alberg. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing your last name correctly. I'm not real big on the Swedish roots of things, but thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then Thomas
Yeah.
Wong, thank you so much for helping us out on Patreon. All you guys are helping us make the show better, and we're super excited about the things that are going to be coming up. So make sure to check out our Patreon, and thank you so much for supporting us. But
And
yeah,
start to give us ideas for 100. That's like 3 weeks away, and I have no idea what we're doing.
we're trying to figure that out.
We're
I thought about like maybe we should record the show together, like live.
just going to be at Roy's house eating hot wings.
That'd be our 100th episode.
Ask anyone, and Matt and I are the 2 zeros, so you're the 1 and Matt and I are the 2 zeros, so we make
Nah,
out
what
the
is-
number 100.
Is that how that works?
I don't know. I think we're too. Well, no, we're not that different height, except for Rob. Rob's kind of tall.
No, I'm taller than you guys.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Anyway, it'll be fun. We'll do something crazy.
Well, we stream this podcast live at youtube.com/Epic Gaming Night, Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Make sure to check us out there. Hit us up and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, make sure to hit us
I have
up
an
on
idea.
Instagram and Twitter at Epic Gaming Night. And also make sure to check out our t-shirts at analoggamer.com/Epic Gaming Night. And it has been awesome to hang out with you guys.
Yeah.
What
I
was your
think for
idea?
our 100th, I think what we should do is we should do the show entirely through kazoos. Because that won't be annoying at all. But it's very
Our
party
100th
themed.
episode is our last episode, is what Matt's trying to say.
It's just 5 minutes.
Bro. Also, he's probably not listening to our show, but anybody that does watch the Favorite Game Fridays, shout out to freaking the M's, Mark Street and Marty. Both
It's not
coming
Marty,
up with
it's
these.
Tony.
They're going hard
Tony.
on their
Tony.
videos. our last Tony. Sorry, is it Tony?
Yes, Tony and Marty from Rolling Dice Take a Name. It is Tony out of the Tony and Marty.
Oh. Well, then, but Tony, man. So we did our last, Matt, here's what we did. Our last favorite game Friday was your favorite short game. He did Strike. He went to a bowling alley and recorded rolling a strike. And then he was like,
yeah, it was legit.
That was absolutely legit.
Oh, man.
And then he did one out in the middle of the woods where it was like raining and he was like going to look for something. And then he did Scoville digging in his garden and stuff. And then he's a jerk for this one. The whole Geek Awards where he got nominated and he had like the thing behind him like, oh, thank you everybody for the nominations. I would have done something cheesy too, but
it's been a lot
guys,
of fun.
And Mark with the computer graphic design stuff, like moving characters around, and he made himself like a little mini and he's put himself on game cards and stuff. They're coming hard with this stuff. I'm just like, I text Roy like at 9:30 on Thursday night. What's the thing? Okay, let me run downstairs. My favorite game is blah, blah, blah. Hey. These guys, they're putting forth effort.
I love Favorite Game Friday because it's made for people to be able to do stuff like really easy and simple. Like literally, it's like, hey, say the name of your favorite game.
Tony and Mark.
And then we have people who like put a lot of creative effort into it. Like it's pretty awesome to see. I try to not go too hard as like the host. Like I don't want to be the Martys and or not. Why did I say Marty? It's not Marty. Tony and Mark. Because I don't want everybody else to feel like they can't do anything. But I do love that they're putting in a ton of effort. And just wait till you see Mark's one that's going to be for this week. He's already showed it to me. It's going to be ridiculous. They don't play.
Awesome. Just text me what it is. What is the favorite game Friday for this week?
Favorite Game Friday is long games, so it's the opposite of short games.
Oh, man. I should just submit only one and just do Secret Hitler because it's kind of a long box.
Bro. Hitler's a fun game, man. Peace.
Awesome. All Blood Rage through kazoos. We're already way past that. I already played the thing. I'll have to figure out how to make it happen.
Oh, we're in the after show?
Yeah!
Oh, man.
So, this game, Dragoon.
Yeah.
Anybody heard of it?
I heard of it.
Is it good?
I'm not sure. It looked
Because
interesting.
they have like a Kickstarter for expansions for like the Barbarian and Rogue characters, I think.
Yep, I saw.
I want to get the Village Attacks. Have you seen that? It's like you play like the vampire and some of the other ones, and you try to fend off the villagers from attacking you. Look it up on Kickstarter, Village Attacks. The minis and everything look super cool. It looks like a very pretty game. What?
Entropy's got a Kickstarter going on right now.
Oh, really? What are they doing?
Well, they're already 400% over goal. They've got 12, almost 13,000 pledged on a goal of 3. But it's 5 days to go.
What are they trying to do? Make more stuff for the game, or is it a redo of the main game?
I don't know.
Entropy Worlds Collide.
I do like Entropy.
It looks like a reprint. I don't see anything new per se. Metal Anchor.
That's cool.
I've got a couple games on there.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, everybody in chat. You guys are awesome.
Mwah.
And we shall talk to you guys next time.
Peace.